Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're taking a look at Cartesi, which is CTSI. And this is a fan favorite, so I appreciate you all reaching out and asking me to go ahead and cover this one. Definitely a unique and awesome coin. So check that out on your own time, of course, the fundamentals. We're here for the technical data alone. I'm going to help you make a good entry point, informed decision, of course, and educate you along the way. Because that's the whole point of cryptocurrency, right? To all stick together and work to slay the whales, or whatever analogy there is there, right? We are here together to get this done and make some profits along the way, right? Tired of losing, so Bitcoin, you watch out. Okay, enough about that. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research. And just bear in mind, I do have a link to my Patreon account. There's also Discord and Telegram. I'll get it right. Those are all in the description below. And without further ado, why don't you just go ahead and let's check it out, right? Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at CTSI, which is Cartesi. And before we do, just like to preface, if you're new to the channel, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to kind of get a baseline of what's going on with the market, because obviously those are the two largest and most impactful in the grand scheme of things. So we'll take a look at that first. Let's go ahead and dive right into Bitcoin. One more thing just to note, also I use Binance desktop application. That's what I'm using presently, and I also use TradingView within. And you can find that just by clicking on the link on the top right hand corner. To enable that, it's always default to original. Okay, and we're looking at the 4-hour chart right now, and I chose the 4-hour chart because of the fact that it gives us the best understanding of how the moving averages are working. Those are the most impactful. That is what the industry leaders are using. So I like to include that here so we understand what everyone else is looking at too. And just note that the 50-day moving average, this yellow line, is essentially trending downwards, as well as the 200-day moving average. So they're both working as resistance lines for the moment. Furthermore, we have a support level down here at approximately 33,500. That was tested just, 5-6 hours ago, and it's been kind of increasing ever since. We had a pretty strong sell-off for some reason, not quite sure, but just prior to that was the issue with China, essentially just withholding or telling the banks that they couldn't essentially use Bitcoin, and this is the Elon candle here that it's commonly referred to as. So unfortunately, had a couple of bad beats. I do feel like Bitcoin would be doing much better if it wasn't for those two terrible news here. So I don't feel like we're in dire straits by any means, but you can tell how strong the price jumped back from here. It was very low. So 33,500 would essentially be a strong support level moving forward. Present resistance is at about 42,300. No need to even mention the other ones because we're a long ways off from that. But if we do bridge that gap, we can come up here to roughly 46,000 and some change and see what happens. So that is Bitcoin. Ethereum, essentially performing the same as Bitcoin, which is unique to say because it usually outperforms Bitcoin when Bitcoin is going down, or is essentially not doing very well, right? Bitcoin consolidates, Ethereum takes off. It's done that time and time again, as you can see here. This was a period of consolidation for Bitcoin. It just ramped right up. So that being said, we just want to pay attention to the moving averages. The 200-day moving average is trending above. That's working as a resistance. There is a support and resistance level, previous support rather, current resistance at about 3,100, and the 50-day moving average is coming back down to about 3,400. So what we should expect to see is, they think they refer to it as a golden cross, where the 50-day moving average comes down, and that likely is a good sign for the price to come up there. So we'll see what happens there. Moving forward, we've got Cartesi. Let's go ahead and take a look now. Always look at the one-day chart first, so we get a bird's eye view on what's going on, and then we work our way down to effectively understand a good point of entry and just help educate on best practice if you're planning to take entry in this climate. So first thing to note here, fantastic. Looks like there is a 50-day moving average working as a very strong support level. So that tells us the average price should be roughly about 75 cents or higher. And another thing, furthermore, too, with the price action the way that is, I would venture to guess that the average true range should be anywhere between 75 cents and $1 or $1.10. So we should expect to see the price increase soon, again, pending Bitcoin not selling off again. Because if we can see here, what is it? Is this the 11th and 12th was the major sell-off here. So obviously we had a strong retracement right here as a result of two very strong days of bullish sentiment So it's selling off, and then on top of that, Bitcoin sold off even further, but it ramped up and corrected itself. And then, of course, the issue with China pulling out, essentially, we had that happen. So I'm speculating that the price should increase. CTSI is significantly low in price. I feel like it's a good value right now. And if we note also, this may not carry over to the other charts, but if we look here, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, there was this level right here, roughly about 74 cents, should be a pretty strong support too. It was tested numerous times. So right in this range of 74 to 80 cents is a pretty nice little support channel, okay? So pay attention to that. I think that would be helpful to understand moving forward, but good news is we've got the moving average to help us out. All right, looking at the RSI, good shape. MACD does appear to be bearish, but it will take a little while for it to recover. Makes sense considering all the retracements that have happened recently. But I'm not super concerned. I mean, I would say the worst case scenario, right around 66 cents would be the secondary support. It should likely consolidate between 66 and $1 for the next few days, and perhaps even break out above that eventually soon. Again, this is all reliant on Bitcoin doing just basically all we need is it for it to go sideways. Really, Bitcoin, can you do that for us? Can you just go sideways for a freaking more than 2 days? Anyways, that would be nice. If it did, we'll be in good shape, and that's essentially the case. But every time Bitcoin does its thing, all the altcoins get a little rattled because people do this fear mongering, and they get scared and they pull out, and that's what we're seeing here. So again, if you see how well it did after the first Bitcoin sell-off with the Elon candle, I would say that it's safe to presume the price should come back up again soon to this range of about $1.10, $1.20. Okay. 4-hour chart, let's take a look here. And obviously we see the support level here. It's tapped it a couple of times. It does look like probably, I would say 60, I don't know, somewhere around the range of 69 to 74 cents would be a pretty safe support level. And then if we look at, just to clarify, the moving averages are working as resistance lines right now. The 4-hour chart is effectively the most fundamental chart that all the industry standards are going to be using, right? So we got to be careful and mindful of that. This could work itself into a slight channel between the support and these two resistance levels, and it may break out above. I feel like it will, but it might be a little while off. The good news is the RSI is fairly low, but just keep in mind when the RSI is under 45, it's essentially kind of it's a support and resistance level, right? It works as a resistance line right now, so bear in mind that it's going to be working itself in this little channel for the moment, and we'll see what happens eventually. Below that, MACD isn't really indicating much at all. It's showing a state of indecision, which makes sense when it keeps coming up and down like this. I'm going to speculate that the price will work itself into a channel and breakout. 15-minute chart. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the moving averages and enable my two favorites, the VWAP and the EMA. And if you're new to the channel, the VWAP is this blue line here. It's a volume weighted average price. It really just helps us understand what the last 24 hours was expressed as a price. In other words, the last 24-hour volume expressed as a price, telling us that the price should be roughly about 75 cents. It's right where we're at. Good news is the price is above that, and it's testing it currently, so if it doesn't break below, we should be looking at that as another support line. That's a good sign. The EMA, furthermore, that is this red line here. I use the EMA 15. A lot of industry leaders will use the EMA 20, but I like the 15 because it splits the difference between the 9 and the 20. It gives me more of a blended average. Instead of having two EMA lines, I just get the one, and it works better for me personally. That being said, when you see the EMA line here on the 15-minute chart, it's not as accurate as the 1-minute chart, but generally speaking, it is telling us that we lost the EMA, and we would want to take entry only after the EMA line comes down below the price. Okay? I am a firm believer in getting good confirmation before taking entry. So if you take entry above the VWAP, that's one check mark. You get one gold star for that. But you take entry above the EMA line as well after it's had its confirmation. It's been tested twice. Okay, I'll explain more about that on the 1-minute chart. And looking here at the 1 minute, just to clarify, there is kind of some sporadic price action. So I wonder what the volume is. It seems to be pretty low volume, all things considered. So just be mindful of that. Low volume can increase the volatility, which is why we see these spikes. It can be hard to gauge sometimes, but suffice to say, we're looking at this here. I mean, if we were to try to identify a good entry point, you'd obviously want to, again, wait for the VWAP to be tested and to hold above. We want no less than 3 solid green bars above the VWAP line, okay? And then furthermore, we also want the EMA line to be below it. So we want to see it the price come above like this right here, for example, or somewhere in this range, where we get some kind of price action that is giving us confirmation that the average, that the momentum essentially is bullish. Okay, again, we're all likely taking longer positions. You would take the inverse, of course, for anything that's short. If you're going to short this currency, then that would essentially just be the opposite, right? But for long position, that's kind of what you're looking at. So just be mindful of that. And what I like to look for on entry is I look for 3 solid green bars to try to find entry. It can be difficult in this scenario to do that based on the way that this the volume is. It's unique volume, and I personally don't like to trade volume that is this low, at least on a day trade. Swing trades, different story. So let's go back to the 15, just kind of identify a good entry point. And what I mean by that is I always look for confirmation above the EMA and the VWAP. I've already stated that, I know. But the confirmation I look for is 2 solid 15-minute green bars above the EMA and the VWAP. What I mean by that even further is essentially, here's an example, right? Let's just take a look. So looking at this chart, you can see there's a run up here, and then another consolidation and a run up again. So what I usually do is I like to look for 2 solid green bars. In other words, these are 2 solid green bars that are closing above the EMA and the VWAP. If they close below, it doesn't work. They have to both close above to signify there is a bullish momentum. And obviously, look at this. If you take entry, you would have got that spike. And what it typically does, the price goes up, right? Once it has that momentum, it'll come back down and bounce off the EMA line. That's what signifies a bullish trend, right? So that's another case in point where I'd probably add to my position right here, because I would likely only do like a 30% position right here. And then I would add another, say 20 or maybe 30%. Sorry, it's hard to draw the numbers with this squiggly line. Yeah, and then ideally when the RSI gets up over 70, which is right here, then I would consider taking my position as soon as it comes back down. So right as soon as it comes back down, right there, I would exit my position, so it'd be somewhere in this range here. Now that may not seem like a lot to you, but for me, I like to shoot for anywhere in the range of 1 to 3% on a day trade or 3 to 6% on a short-term swing trade. Now since this is such a short dose, that is essentially a day trade in my opinion, and anywhere between 1 to 3% would be satisfactory. Coincidentally, that is a 12% increase. Okay, so that would be a case in point where that'd be a very good return. I would likely have grown my wallet by 1 to 2% for that day, and I would have called it a day and been very happy with that. Again, it may not seem like a lot because I'm only taking smaller positions, but I'm taking safer positions because if it turns around on me, I can get out, take my loss and be okay because I have good risk management. Okay, and I don't think we talk about this enough in cryptocurrency. You need to have a 2-to-1 ratio at all times. So if you're going to lose, just say you're going to risk, $100, you're trying to shoot for, taking away 200, if that makes sense, right? Or if you're going to, in this case, shoot for a 12% gain, you don't want to have anything larger than a 6% loss. That's way too high for me personally. I never risk more than 2% of my total portfolio size at any given time. We all need to kind of work on that, I feel. So if you're unfamiliar with what I'm referring to, I'll try to make videos in the future, of course, regarding this, because it is extremely important for us to be more responsible. But if you're not familiar with that, then you need to not go all in, and you need to ensure that you are very, very careful with your entries. Yeah, so that being said, I don't like the entry point here. Price is under EMA. Yes, it's bouncing off the VWAP line, but it could very well lose and come back down. Good news is we have a support level down at roughly about 66 cents and approximately 75 cents. So we'll see what happens here with the price action. So I would wait to get confirmation before you jump in and to kind of pay attention to all the indicators, right? So hopefully you found benefit. Thank you very much for joining me here. And of course, feel free to show your support through my Patreon account. I am going to have some signal groups moving forward here in the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that as well. And just want to thank you again. You're all very awesome. I have a really good group of folks over at in my Telegram community too. Be sure to connect with them. You can really learn a lot. Thanks again. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again soon.